Hi again from CCK Law. Today we're discussing VA ratings for adjustment disorder. Adjustment disorder is characterized as a short-term condition that occurs when a person has great difficulty coping with or adjusting to a particular source of stress, such as a major life change, loss, or event. This is sometimes referred to as situational depression.
However, unlike major depressive disorder, adjustment disorder doesn't involve as many of the physical and emotional symptoms of clinical depression. For example, changes in sleep, appetite, and energy, or high levels of severity, such as suicidal ideation. It is also important to note that adjustment disorder is different than post-traumatic stress disorder in that PTSD occurs as a reaction at least 1 month after a life-threatening event, and its symptoms tend to last longer than the symptoms of adjustment disorder.
Some examples of stressors that could trigger adjustment disorder, including the end of a relationship or marriage, losing or changing a job, death of a loved one, developing a serious illness, being the victim of a crime, having an accident, or undergoing a major life change. Adjustment disorder is marked by emotional and behavioral symptoms that usually last 3 to 6 months following the stressful event. And to be categorized as adjustment disorder, the reaction to the stressor must be greater than what is typically expected for the situation or the event. Also, the symptoms must impact a person's ability to function on a daily basis.
So, to receive VA disability benefits for adjustment disorder, veterans need to file a claim for service connection. As part of this process, VA will likely require a compensation and pension exam, and veterans can also submit evidence of their own, such as lay statements, service medical or personnel records, or opinions from non-VA doctors to paint a picture of their condition and describe when and how it arose. There are a few ways that veterans can seek service connection, or a few theories of entitlement, and the most common is direct service connection. This involves 3 elements. 1, a current diagnosis. So for this, it would be a diagnosis of adjustment disorder. 2, evidence of an in-service injury, event, or illness. And 3, a medical nexus or connection that links the in-service event or occurrence to the current diagnosis of adjustment disorder. Again, adjustment disorder is often a short-term condition. So in many of our cases, the disease or disorder progresses into another mental health condition. But as long as the symptoms are consistent and overlap, the evidence that you're going to want to submit to VA will be the same.
And another option is secondary service connection. Veterans can also establish with this theory if they can show that an already service-connected condition, maybe like a orthopedic issue, has caused or aggravated their adjustment disorder. So a more specific example would be perhaps a traumatic brain injury during service that was diagnosed several years later. If the veteran can show there's a clear link between the TBI and adjustment disorder, then secondary service connection may be warranted.
And when it comes to secondary service connection, you can also establish service connection based on aggravation. So VA will compensate veterans generally for conditions that existed at the time of entry into service that were made worse or aggravated by service. So if a veteran was diagnosed with adjustment disorder prior to service, they still may qualify for VA disability benefits if they can prove that their condition worsened or progressed as a result of something that happened during their active duty service and not just due to the natural progression of the disease.
So once VA has established service connection, it will assign a rating which determines the level of compensation a veteran may receive. VA rates adjustment disorder using the general rating formula for mental disorders under 38 CFR section 4.130. Veterans may be assigned a 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, or 100% disability rating based on the level of social and occupational impairment caused by the condition. So it's important to note that veterans aren't required to meet all of the criteria in the rating schedule to qualify for a certain rating. Symptoms listed in each level of the rating formula are only examples.
Right. So, one common question that we hear is if a veteran has multiple mental health conditions, can they get a separate and distinct rating for each condition? And the answer is no. Since all mental health conditions are evaluated using the same criteria, and since VA wants to avoid paying benefits for the same symptoms or conditions twice, due to a principle called pyramiding, veterans with multiple mental health conditions will generally be assigned one single rating that encompasses all of their diagnoses. So, adjustment disorder is often accompanied by other mental health conditions and diagnoses, things like anxiety or depression. But VA will consider all of these symptoms as a whole and assign a single rating for the symptoms, not for the diagnosis.
So we hope that you found this helpful. Adjustment disorder is often overlooked by veterans and professionals, but it can have a major impact on your life. So please, for more information about claims and appeals, check out our blog at cck-law.com/blog or browse our other videos on YouTube. Take care.